For 10,000 years, the hunter moved on foot. One shot, one chance miss, and the animal vanished into the timber. The bolt-action rifle became the sacred instrument of that ancient discipline, precise, unforgiving, and demanding of perfection on every single trigger pull. But precision without speed is a gamble. Out in the real world, deer do not stand still. They bolt through the brush. They quarter away at the worst possible moment. A follow-up shot is not a luxury. It is a necessity. The semi-automatic hunting rifle was supposed to solve that problem. For most of the 20th century, it tried and failed. Those early autoloaders were boat anchors. 8-9 pounds of gas-operated machinery that fouled in the rain and cost more than a truck payment to bring home. That era is over. In 2026, aircraft-grade aluminum, computer-controlled machining, and advanced barrel coatings have produced a generation of semi-automatic deer rifles that are lighter, more accurate, and more reliable than anything that came before them, at prices that will make your bolt action feel embarrassed. 5 platforms, 5 budgets, 1 countdown. Number 5. The Bear Creek Arsenal BC-15 and 350 Legend. There are 40 million deer hunters in America, and in states like Ohio, Iowa, and Michigan, most of them have been forced into a frustrating compromise for decades. Flat terrain, dense populations, strict straight-wall cartridge laws that banned the high-velocity rounds that made the modern rifle great. For generations, those hunters made do with slugs out of a shotgun. Brutal recoil, limited range, and all the surgical precision of throwing a brick. Then Winchester introduced the 350 Legend, and Bear Creek Arsenal put it inside an AR-15 chassis for $594. Here is the mechanical genius of this combination. The 350 Legend shares its base dimensions with the 223 Remington, which means it drops directly into the lightweight AR-15 platform without any receiver modifications. You get a rifle that weighs 6.5 pounds, cycles as smoothly as any varmint gun, and generates recoil so mild that first-time hunters and smaller frame shooters can run follow-up shots without flinching. At 100 yards, a 140-grain solid copper projectile exits the muzzle at 2,450 feet per second and delivers a wound channel. That anchors deer cleanly and decisively. The BC-15 is not subtle. It is a purpose-built straight-wall solution, lightweight, fast handling, and devastatingly effective inside 200 yards. The deal breaker? Beyond that 200-yard mark, the 350 Legend drops off a ballistic cliff. This is not a rifle for open fields or long senderos. Keep it in the timber where it belongs, and it will never let you down. Street price, $594 to $704. Number 4. The Palmetto State Armory PA-10 Generation 3 and 308 Winchester. There is an old saying in the American military: you do not need the fanciest weapon on the battlefield. You need the one that works every single time you pull the trigger. Palmetto State Armory built their reputation on exactly that philosophy. The PA-10 Generation 3 is not trying to win a beauty contest. It is not chasing exotic materials or proprietary geometry. It is a forged 7075 aluminum AR-10 platform, engineered from the ground up for absolute mechanical dependability, and it starts at $750. The critical upgrade in the Generation 3 is the Toolcraft Bolt Carrier Group. The gas keys are dual-staked, meaning they are physically deformed into the carrier body at 2 points rather than 1. This single detail prevents the keys from loosening under the violent thermal cycling of repeated fire, a failure mode that plagued earlier budget AR-10s and caused catastrophic feeding malfunctions at the worst possible moments. Pair that with extra power extractor springs that rip spent 308 brass out of a fouled chamber with authority, and you have a rifle that will cycle through mud cold in 2 days of neglect without complaint. The PA-10 is heavy, 8.5 to 10 pounds fully loaded. On a mountain, that weight is a burden. But sitting in a box blind over a harvested cornfield on a November morning, that mass becomes your greatest asset, absorbing the recoil impulse of the 308 so completely that follow-up shots feel almost effortless. The deal breaker. Accuracy averages 1.5 to 2 MOA with standard hunting loads. perfectly sufficient for ethical shots on deer vitals inside 300 yards. But if you are a precision shooter who demands sub-MOA groups, you will need to spend more on premium ammunition or look elsewhere. Street price, $750 to $1,000. Number 3. The Diamondback DB-10 in .308 Winchester. In the winter of 1962, the United States Army conducted field trials in the jungles of Southeast Asia on a radical new rifle coated in nothing but standard parkerizing. Within weeks, the humid air, the standing water, and the relentless equatorial heat had eaten through the finish and begun destroying the metal underneath. The lesson was written in rust. In the field, a rifle is only as good as the finish protecting it. Diamondback learned that lesson and applied it to every DB-10 that leaves their factory. The Carbon Series receivers are coated in Cerakote, a ceramic polymer compound baked directly into the metal surface at the molecular level. This is not paint, this is not anodizing. Cerakote bonds to the aluminum and steel with a hardness that standard Type 3 hardcoat anodizing cannot match. Drag this rifle through freezing rain, dense creek bottom brush, and 2 days of hunting camp abuse. The finish will not crack. It will not peel. It will not surrender to moisture. The mechanical heart of the DB-10 is an 8620 steel bolt carrier group that has been both shot-peened and magnetic particle inspected before it ever leaves the factory. Shot peening compresses the surface layer of the steel, creating a residual stress barrier that resists fatigue fractures under the 62,000 pounds per square inch cyclic pressure of .308 Winchester. MPI testing guarantees there are 0 microscopic internal cracks hiding inside the bolt before it is placed into your hands. The DB-10 also ships with premium Magpul furniture, including the Mo K2 pistol grip, a steeper, more vertical angle that eliminates wrist fatigue during long sits in a cramped hunting blind. The deal breaker? The DB-10 does not feature an adjustable gas block. If you plan to run a suppressor, you will need to budget for an aftermarket gas block upgrade to prevent overgassing and accelerated wear. Street price, $936 to $1,100. Number 2. The Bear Creek Arsenal BC-8 Huntmaster in .30-06 Springfield and .300 Winchester Magnum. In the summer of 1906, the United States Army needed a cartridge powerful enough to reach across the open plains of the American West and anchor a target with absolute finality. What they developed in the Springfield Armory that year became the dominant American battle round for half a century. Carried through 2 world wars, Korea, and the frozen ridge lines of the Chosin Reservoir, the .30-06 Springfield was not designed for compromise. It was designed to end the argument at distance. For most of the 21st century, putting that kind of magnum power inside a semi-automatic platform meant spending $2,000, $3,000, sometimes $4,000 on boutique builds and premium imports. Bear Creek Arsenal ended that conversation at $1,095. The engineering challenge was fundamental. The standard AR-10 receiver is physically incapable of cycling cartridges with an overall length beyond 2.8 inches. The .30-06 stretches to 3.34 inches. The .300 Winchester Magnum pushes even further. To solve this, Bear Creek Arsenal engineered a completely proprietary billet aluminum long-action receiver set, machined from solid aluminum stock rather than forged, giving it tighter dimensional tolerances and a stronger internal geometry. The defining mechanical feature of the BC-8 is its right-side charging handle. When hunting with the high magnification optics that Magnum cartridges demand, a standard rear charging handle becomes nearly impossible to actuate without breaking your sight picture. The right side handle allows you to chamber around, ride the bolt forward silently, or clear a malfunction with one hand while keeping your eye behind the glass. Bear Creek Arsenal also includes an integrated accuracy wedge, a polymer tensioning insert that eliminates harmonic wobble between the upper and lower receivers, delivering tested accuracy between 1.25 and 1.9 MOA. The .300 Winchester Magnum variant pushes projectiles at 2,939 feet per second out of a 20-inch barrel, generating kinetic energy that reaches out across an open agricultural field and makes distance irrelevant. The deal breaker? At 11.25 pounds unloaded, this rifle is a stationary shooter's weapon. It belongs on a bipod in a blind or across a shooting bench overlooking a long sendero. Carry it up a mountain, and it will remind you of every poor decision you have ever made. Street price: $1,095 to $1,199. Number 1. The Ruger SFAR in .308 Winchester in 1963. Eugene Stoner sat across a table from a group of Army ordnance officers and made an argument that nearly ended his career. He insisted that a rifle weighing 6 pounds could be more lethal, more reliable, and more controllable than the 9-pound battle rifles the American infantry had carried since the Second World War. They laughed at him. Then they tested it. Then they issued it to every soldier in Vietnam. Stoner understood something that the ordnance establishment refused to accept. Weight is the enemy of the fighting man. Every ounce you carry up a mountain, through a river bottom, or across a mile of open sage is a tax on your body and your judgment. The lighter the rifle, the farther you can hunt. The farther you can hunt, the better your chances of putting an animal on the ground. Ruger absorbed that philosophy and applied it to the most difficult engineering problem in the modern hunting rifle market. How do you fit the .308 Winchester, a cartridge generating 62,000 pounds per square inch of chamber pressure, inside a receiver that nearly mirrors the exterior dimensions of a standard AR-15? The answer required entirely new materials and entirely new geometry. The bolt and barrel extension of the SFAR are machined from a high-nickel super alloy steel rather than standard Carpenter 158. The bolt features proprietary tapered lug geometry, dual ejectors, and a titanium firing pin coated in diamond-like carbon, a material so hard it is measured on the same scale as industrial diamonds. The barrel is cold hammer forged from 4140 chrome moly steel with 5R rifling. 5 grooves with sloped sides instead of the traditional sharp 90-degree corners. That geometry reduces copper fouling so dramatically that hunters have reported firing hundreds of rounds between cleanings without any measurable loss of accuracy. The result is a rifle that weighs 6.8 pounds with a 16.1-inch barrel. 6.8 pounds, that is lighter than most bolt-action hunting rifles. That is lighter than the rifle Eugene Stoner designed 60 years ago, and it chambers the full-power .308 Winchester. The 4-position adjustable gas block allows the hunter to tune the system precisely for suppressed fire, adverse conditions, or standard unsuppressed hunting, a level of mechanical versatility that rifles costing 3 times the price do not offer. The Elite 452 2-stage trigger brakes at 2 pounds and 8.9 ounces on the gauge. That is a custom trigger weight in a factory rifle. In the field, that clean, predictable brake means the crosshairs do not move when you finally squeeze. Independent accuracy testing at 100 yards with Federal Premium 175 grain and Hornady Black 168 grain. Ammunition produced 5-shot groups measuring 1 inch and below, consistently, from a budget semi-automatic rifle that weighs less than a jug of water. The Ruger SFAR does not ask you to choose between power and portability. It does not ask you to sacrifice precision for price. It simply does everything. And it does it at 6.8 pounds. Street price: $1,015 to $1,329. 5 rifles. 5 completely different answers to the same question every serious hunter asks at the start of every season. How do you get more deer, cover more ground, and spend less money doing it? The Bear Creek Arsenal BC-15 proved that legislative restrictions do not have to mean ballistic compromise. Inside 200 yards in the timber in the straight wall states, it is as lethal and as affordable as anything on this list. The Palmetto State Armory PA-10 Generation 3 proved that reliability is not a luxury reserved for expensive rifles. It is an engineering decision, and at $750, Palmetto State made that decision correctly. The Diamondback DB-10 proved that the harshest hunting environments in North America, the frozen as the saltwater flats, the creek bottoms that eat unprotected steel for breakfast, demand a finish built for war. TIMECODES is that finish. The Bear Creek Arsenal BC-8 Huntmaster proved something that nobody believed was possible 5 years ago. That magnum semi-automatic capability in .30-06 and 300 Winchester Magnum does not require a second mortgage. It requires $1,100 and a solid bipod. And the Ruger SFAR proved what Eugene Stoner knew in 1963 and what every backcountry hunter knows in their bones. Weight is the enemy. 6.8 pounds of .308 Winchester is not a compromise. It is the answer. The golden age of the budget semi-automatic deer rifle is not coming. It is already here. It is sitting on the shelf at your local gun store right now, waiting for you to pick it up. If this countdown helped you find your next hunting rifle, hit that subscribe button. More countdowns are coming, and they will not wait for you.